So the book I read was The Political Classroom, and I'm gonna be real, I'm a little bit embarrassed by how much I loved it. Like I just thought it was such a great resource for considering how to introduce politics in the classroom and what purpose they have in the classroom. Um, in the beginning of the book, it kind of goes through and talks about some of the political patterns we see. So, for example, um, how kids get their political opinions, like they come from parents and religion and the internet, and then also teachers. So, we're a big part of that. So it might be like kind of important to be introducing politics in a good way in the classroom. It goes through and talks about some of the patterns we see um, in political discussions, political like any given area. So like if you have an area with more diversity, you tend to get less people voting, less because people tend to be more accepting and open-minded of other people's ideas, and then they just don't really care about voting as much, I guess, after that. But then if when you go to somewhere where there's a clear majority and then you've got your minority, um, you'll get some more heated debates. You'll get um, you'll get people who will vote more, but then you have more polarization there. So it just there's a couple more things like that the book goes through about the patterns you see in politics. Um, but for the most part, the book focuses on um, the importance of not just like having politics in the classroom, but how politics are in the classroom. I think as teachers, we often get like a little bit scared of getting political opinions, whether they're our own or like other ideas. We get kind of scared about introducing them into the classroom because, I mean, parents get mad, that it can be you get heated arguments, and it can be like a little bit nerve wracking. However, the political classroom is very clear that you need to have that controversy, and you need to talk about politics in your classroom. I mean, especially if it is like a government classroom, but honestly, any social science classroom, because like all social sciences honestly connect to politics in some way. So it's important to keep this in mind for honestly any social science teacher. Um, so overall, like I loved the book, it because it did echo a lot of my personal opinions. Um, there were a couple things I like didn't love about it. I would have loved if like some of the things just seemed more like suggestions, but there wasn't really like I mean, I wanted maybe more of a hard and fast rule just to make my life easier. So, I mean, that's not no fault of the author. It's just, the struggles of life. But also, there were some parts in the book where it does go a lot into here's how we figured out this, um, and why this is so important. Like there's a lot of digging through the methods, which is great, and it's great that it's there, but also it's kind of a lot of reading to do when I really just want to get to the content of what I personally want to use in my classroom. That stuff wasn't so useful, but then, I mean, throughout the book, you still get a lot of good content and a lot of ideas and suggestions on um, how to get politics in your classroom and to have a political classroom that's um, functioning well and isn't ruining your life or your students' lives. Um, so overall, I think this is I think every social science teacher should read this, um, no matter the subject, because these are they're big issues. They're gonna come up in just about any social science class. Um, and overall, it was just helpful. There's a couple ways that stand out specifically. One was dealing with kind of using your professional judgment on how to bring politics in. So they used this chart that I really liked, with evidence, aims, and context all coming together into your professional judgment. So with evidence, it's basically they're saying make sure like you've got your current research, you're updated on what's actually happening, um, and then your aims. It also like obviously needs to go in with what you as a teacher want taught in your classroom, um, and like that it's conducive to the learning experience, and that um, it's not like gonna tear your students apart. And you're also um, and then with context you're also aware of what is going on in your classroom, not just like what you're teaching, but also like situations certain students might be in. So like um, if you have students that you know are undocumented immigrants, um, you might you might not discuss uh, immigration issues because that might be a difficult topic for them, and that's not something that they'll be able to open up about because they might be scared. So being aware of that can help you choose which political controversies and debates and everything that you want to bring in, where you can include all of your students without some of them maybe being more afraid to comment and partake of the learning experience that talking about political controversy provides. Um, Another thing I thought was super useful in the book was it talked about bringing your own political opinion into the classroom. That's something that's always scared me personally. And I mean, I think some of it comes from my social science teachers always being a little like, oh, I don't want to tell you my like any of my political views because I mean they don't want to like brainwash you or anything or have parents be mad that they're teaching opposite what they believe or whatever. So this it kind of provided a very helpful guide for social science teachers in kind of figuring out how and when to bring in your personal opinions in a way that it's not a negative um, experience for your students. Um, so, along with that, um, like I said, you have to get political in your class. This doesn't always mean sharing your own personal opinions, but like you have to get political in most social science classes. Um, and as we talked about in class, and this connected with the book, having these debates about controversial issues and bringing politics into the classroom actually promotes higher order thinking, because students are becoming more aware of different perspectives, and they have to their own beliefs are challenged, and um, especially like if you do a debate in class, they're very much interacting with the knowledge. They're learning how to talk about politics. They're learning about different ideas and um, about thinking different ways. A good activity that could go along with this would be a class debate where you break students into a couple different groups and you assign each group a different perspective to research on an issue. Um, and then once they've done their research, take those groups, take someone from each group to create a new group and do that a couple times and have those smaller groups, each with like having researched different opinions, and have all of them kind of debate and discuss these different perspectives. Um, it gets them thinking because they're thinking about ideas and ways of thinking that they probably didn't consider before, and it's a very good um, environment for them to learn how to share their ideas, where no one's going to be like, wow, that's a super dumb idea because, well, I'm assigning it and everything. And that's just one of those things that the political classroom focuses on, is helping students learn by facing these controversies and talking about politics and having it in the classroom. So, again, I highly recommend the book, and I think every social science teacher should read it to have a more successful classroom.